The 72-second message from the stars. The WOW signal mystery. August 15th, 1977. A quiet night at a small observatory in Ohio. The sky clear, endless, silent. Then it happens. A burst of radio energy from deep space, so strong, so perfect, it lasts just 72 seconds. And then silence. When astronomer Jerry Eman saw the data printout, he froze. In disbelief, he grabbed a red pen, circled the numbers, and wrote a single word beside it. Wow. That one word would become one of the greatest scientific mysteries in human history. We've scanned the skies for decades, listening for whispers from another world. But out of billions of hours of cosmic noise, only once have we heard something that didn't sound like nature, didn't sound like Earth, didn't sound human. This is the story of the WOW signal, a message from the stars that we heard once and never again. It was the age of analog. No internet, no smartphones, just a handful of scientists pointing massive antennas at the sky, hoping maybe, just maybe, to hear something intelligent. The Big Ear radio telescope at Ohio State University was one of those instruments. Night after night, it swept across the heavens, translating radio waves into long paper printouts, numbers, symbols, letters. Most nights, the data was dull, cosmic background noise. But that night, the pattern was impossible to ignore. 6 EQUJ, 6 characters that didn't belong to the universe's random hum. It was loud, precise, and perfectly on the 1420 MHz frequency, a frequency emitted by hydrogen, the most abundant element in the universe. Astronomers call it the hydrogen line, the channel that any intelligent civilization would likely use to say, "We're here." Jerry Eman stared at the numbers. He knew what they meant. This was no glitch, no satellite, no known astronomical event. It was exactly what SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, had been waiting for. A radio pulse lasting exactly as long as the telescope's rotation window, 72 seconds, coming from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius, a region filled with thousands of stars, and maybe something more. They tried to hear it again. Hundreds of scans, years of listening. But the signal never returned. No repetition, no trace, just gone. Some said it was a comet. Others said it was a reflection, a glitch, a hoax. But none of those theories fit. Whatever spoke to us that night spoke once and never again. Maybe it was just a natural phenomenon we don't yet understand. Or maybe, for 72 seconds, humanity heard someone say, "Hello," from the other side of the galaxy. One signal, 72 seconds, infinite questions. The WOW signal. The night the universe might have whispered back. Chapter 1. The night the sky spoke in 1977. A telescope in Ohio heard something no one could explain. 72 seconds of pure, powerful sound, coming from the stars. Not noise, not a glitch, a message, maybe, and then silence. This was not supposed to happen. Scientists had spent decades listening to an empty sky, until, for just over a minute, the universe whispered back. They called it the WOW signal. Late 1970s, a world before smartphones, before the internet. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence, SETI, is a fringe dream funded with spare change and wild hope. At Ohio State University stands the Big Ear radio telescope, two massive aluminum walls, one stationary, one movable, scanning the heavens using Earth's rotation. It records cosmic noise on endless rolls of paper, thousands of digits each night, mostly meaningless static. But every so often, a number spikes higher, a hint that something out there is talking. August 15th, 1977, The telescope sweeps past the constellation Sagittarius, home to the center of our galaxy. The computers whir, printers chatter, data scrolls endlessly. A few days later, volunteer astronomer Jerry Emmon sits down to review the paper log's routine, boring work. But halfway down one page, he freezes. The pattern is impossible. 6EQUJ5. 6 characters that represent an intensity 30 times stronger than the background of space. Perfectly aligned on 1420 megahertz, the hydrogen line. The frequency many scientists believe alien civilizations would use to call out across the cosmos. Emmon circles it. Red ink. A single word in the margin. Wow. He doesn't shout. He doesn't run. He just stares. Because he knows what this could mean. If it's real, it's the most important message humanity has ever received. Word spreads quietly through the SETI community. They rerun the data. Check for satellites. Check for aircraft. Check for weather interference. Nothing. The signal came from a spot in the sky with no known radio sources. A dark, empty region near the Chi Sagittarius star group. It lasted exactly as long as Big Ear could observe, a point in space, 72 seconds, then faded as Earth's rotation moved it out of view. For scientists, it was perfect. Too perfect. Some celebrate. Some panic. If it's real, we are not alone. If it's not, the entire dream of SETI might collapse. For days, Emmon and his colleagues scan the same region. Nothing. They try again months later. Nothing. The sky goes back to silence, as if whatever sent that pulse had vanished. The Big Ear kept listening for 20 more years, but the 72-second burst never returned. Some called it a one-time cosmic coincidence. Others, a missed reply. Jerry Emmon would later say, "It's probably not from aliens, but I wish it were." Yet, deep down, even he wondered. What if that night we heard something meant for us, and we simply weren't listening long enough? Chapter 2. The Search for the Echo. The moment Jerry Emmon's red ink wow made headlines, the world took notice. Newspapers called it a message from ET. Scientists called it an anomaly, and the US government, silent. SETI teams across the world pointed their antennas at Sagittarius. Hundreds of hours of listening. Dozens of radio telescopes. Nothing. The sky refused to repeat itself. It was as if the universe had spoken once, and then closed the line. For months, Jerry Emmon and his colleagues fought sleep and static. They pointed the Big Ear again and again at the same spot. Raw, 19 hours, 22 minutes. Deck 27. Still. Silence. Some wondered if they'd missed a repeating pattern, a pulse beyond human hearing, or a modulation hidden deep within the data. Others feared the truth. What if it was never meant for us? Maybe, for those 72 seconds, we simply crossed paths with a cosmic beam meant for someone or something else. The team checked everything: planets, pulsars, even aircraft, flight paths. They found nothing unusual. No satellites, no reflections, no known interference. Whatever caused that spike had vanished completely. The scientific world split in two. One side believed it could be extraterrestrial intelligence, a deliberate transmission on the hydrogen line, the universal frequency of life. The other side demanded a natural cause. Some proposed a passing comet whose hydrogen cloud reflected radio waves. Others claimed it was a secret military signal, bounced off the ionosphere and never meant for public ears. But none of those explanations fit perfectly. No comet was in that position. No satellite could create such a clean, narrow-band pulse. It was a puzzle with every piece missing, except one. 6EQUJ5. For decades, skeptics tried to recreate the signal artificially. None could. And the deeper they searched, the more one unsettling thought began to surface. What if someone, somewhere, heard us too, and then stopped listening? The years passed. Funding for SETI dried up. By the 1990s, the Big Ear was dismantled, its panels torn apart for a golf course expansion. The telescope that once heard the unexplainable was gone. Jerry Emmon, now older, still kept the printout framed in his home office, a relic of the night the sky spoke, but he never heard it again. For a time, the world forgot the wow signal, until 40 years later, new telescopes, like Arecibo and Breakthrough Listen, scanned the same coordinates. And in 2017, a team found something strange. The comet theory, once thought impossible, didn't hold up under new sky data. Some signals from deep space still flickered on the same frequencies. Random noise, perhaps, or maybe echoes. One astronomer whispered, "What if it wasn't a message we missed, but a countdown that hasn't ended yet?" The wow signal wasn't the end. It might have been the beginning. Chapter 3. The message in the noise 40 years after the wow signal faded. Humanity entered a new kind of listening. With telescopes like Arecibo, FAST, and Meerkat, we could now capture signals 1,000,000 times weaker than before. And this time, we weren't alone in the search. Artificial intelligence was listening to millions of hours of radio data were fed into neural networks trained to detect the impossible patterns beyond human recognition. But as the machines began listening deeper, they started hearing things we couldn't explain. Bursts that came from nowhere. Pulses repeating every few days. Whispered frequencies. Right near 1420 megahertz. The same frequency. The same cosmic whisper that started everything. In 2020, the Breakthrough Listen project detected a narrowband signal from Proxima Centauri, the closest star to Earth. It mimicked everything about the wow signal: duration, frequency, intensity. Scientists called it BLC1. And when they compared the waveforms, the resemblance was disturbing. At first, they dismissed it as interference, maybe a passing satellite or Earth-based transmission. But some researchers noticed something hidden in the data, a faint pattern embedded beneath the main signal. A pulse, repeating every 1.618 seconds. The golden ratio, a mathematical constant found everywhere in nature, and, possibly, in design. Coincidence, or communication? Teams from Harvard, China, and Australia began comparing all unexplained signals since 1977. What they found sent shivers through the scientific community. Out of thousands of random blips, 9 had an identical frequency signature, all within 0.0003 megahertz of the original wow signal, all from different parts of the sky, all undetectable twice, as if they were aimed, precisely timed, and gone before anyone could react. The AI programs began clustering these signals together, identifying shared sequences. Then came the breakthrough. When plotted on a sky map, those coordinates formed a pattern, not random, but aligned, a spiral, centered on the constellation Sagittarius, the same direction. The first signal came from. Some scientists say it's all coincidence. That space is full of noise, and our minds crave patterns. But others believe we've been looking at the wow signal the wrong way. What if it wasn't a hello? What if it was a marker, a beacon, placed at a specific point in our technological timeline? A test, to see if we could find it again, not by listening harder, but by learning to see. Because if the signal was truly intelligent, then it means someone, somewhere, already knew exactly how we'd evolve, and when we'd finally understand. In 2024, a small research array in New Zealand captured another unexplained burst. Duration, 72 seconds. Frequency, 1420.455 megahertz. Source, the exact same coordinates as 1977. After nearly half a century, the sky whispered again. Maybe the universe never stopped talking. Maybe we just weren't listening carefully enough.